risks. A lot of other people made kind of life decisions are based around that. And then if it's not working out for you, if you're too stressed and you came out and said, you know what, like, well, when you just dipped it's not even like, oh, you've told everybody, explained the situation. If it just wasn't working out for you and you dipped, and then, it came out in the media that this one person's left the startup for this, everybody else.
Sophie Cunningham recently discussed the DeWanna Bonner departure from the Indiana Fever during her podcast, revealing grisly details about how the veteran player handled her exit. According to Cunningham's account, the situation reflects poorly on Bonner's professionalism and character. The Phoenix Mercury guard, who previously played alongside Bonner in Phoenix before both joined Indiana, described the circumstances surrounding Bonner's departure as disappointing. Cunningham acknowledged Bonner's Hall of Fame credentials and exceptional basketball skills, noting her ability to score from anywhere on the court. However, she emphasized that Bonner's unhappiness with the Indiana situation became apparent early on. While Cunningham expressed understanding for wanting personal happiness, she maintained a neutral stance regarding Bonner's individual well-being. The revelation suggests that what appeared to be an organizational decision was actually Bonner's choice to abandon her commitment to the team.
It came out in the media that this one person's left the startup for this. Everybody else that's involved in that would be pissed at you in real life, which is completely understandable. Like, it is understandable if there are members of the Fever that are pissed at DeWanna Bonner. And not only is it understandable, I would be 99.999% sure there are members of the Indiana Fever that are pissed off at DeWanna Bonner.
She's towards the end of her career, so, like, she deserves her flowers. She deserves to be happy. But I also think that if you're going to leave, like, you're going to have to expect getting booed. Like,
the comparison to workplace dynamics illustrates the problematic nature of Bonner's departure. When someone becomes an essential component of a collaborative effort, their sudden abandonment affects everyone involved. Consider a startup scenario where multiple people invest time, energy, and make life-altering decisions based on shared commitments. If one crucial member suddenly disappears without explanation or communication, the remaining participants rightfully feel betrayed and frustrated. This analogy perfectly captures the Indiana Fever situation, where teammates, coaching staff, and management made plans and adjustments expecting Bonner's continued participation. Her abrupt exit left others scrambling to fill the void and adapt their strategies mid-season. The lack of communication made the situation exponentially worse, as it showed complete disregard for the people who depended on her presence. Such behavior naturally generates resentment and anger among those left behind to deal with the consequences.
Like, you're going to have to expect getting booed. Like,
was there explanation when it happened? No. Not even privately? Yeah, I mean, okay. That's tough. And, yeah, okay. Well, I did say what? Unless you leave on some fuck you type shit, and that's what that is, so.
yeah.
And it's
But
family, I guess, but, like, you gotta get, I mean, sometimes if you're doing things that inconvenience other people, but they're better for you, you have to do it, but let someone know.
I think there's
Say sorry.
The circumstances become more troubling when examining the complete absence of communication surrounding Bonner's decision. Professional courtesy demands at minimum a brief explanation or farewell message to teammates who invested in building chemistry and relationships. Even a simple text message acknowledging the situation would have demonstrated basic respect for her colleagues. Instead, Bonner chose to ghost her teammates entirely, leaving them to discover her intentions through media reports and organizational announcements. This behavior falls far below acceptable professional standards and shows shocking disrespect for people who considered her family. The silence suggests either complete indifference to her teammates' feelings or active hostility toward the organization. Either interpretation reflects poorly on someone who should have served as a veteran leader and mentor. Her actions created confusion, hurt feelings, and unnecessary drama during a critical period of the season.
People, they're better for you, you have to do it, but let someone know.
I think there's
Say sorry,
yeah.
say what you're doing.
Yes, I think I'm right there with you. I think I'm still rooting for her. Like, I want her to end her career and be happy, but I also think that, like, it's okay to be professional about it and, like, send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like,
that is the craziest part about all this, by the way. Like, you might be saying, oh, the players are on her side and this, where it's like the players might be on her side on a personal basis, but, like, you saw that none of these players wanted DeWanna Bonner to touch the ball.
While Bonner deserves recognition for her accomplished career and has every right to pursue personal happiness, her approach to leaving Indiana was inexcusably unprofessional. Veterans approaching career twilight often receive special consideration and flexibility, which Bonner apparently enjoyed during her time with the Fever. However, such privileges come with increased responsibility to handle situations maturely and considerately. Her decision to simply disappear without explanation represents the behavior of someone throwing a tantrum rather than a seasoned professional making a difficult choice. The startup analogy applies perfectly here. When someone's departure significantly impacts others who made sacrifices and commitments, the departing person owes explanations and apologies. Bonner provided neither, instead choosing the path of maximum disruption and minimum accountability. This approach burned bridges unnecessarily and damaged relationships that could have remained positive despite her departure. The most revealing aspect of this situation emerged during Bonner's return to Indianapolis as an opponent. Her former teammates' reactions during that game spoke volumes about their feelings regarding her departure. The visible enthusiasm when opponents blocked her shots and the team's apparent desire to dominate her performance suggested deep-seated resentment. Caitlin Clark's obvious joy when Natasha Howard rejected Bonner's shot attempt was particularly telling, as such displays of emotion are unusual for the typically composed rookie. The team's collective energy seemed focused on proving they were better without her, indicating that her departure had created lasting animosity. These reactions don't develop from simple roster changes or typical player transactions. They result from feeling personally betrayed and disrespected. The intensity of their response confirms that Bonner's exit was viewed as a personal slight rather than a business decision. The broader implications of Bonner's behavior extend beyond individual relationships to questions about veteran leadership and professional responsibility. As an experienced player, she was expected to mentor younger teammates and demonstrate proper conduct both on and off the court. Instead, her actions provided a masterclass in how not to handle difficult situations professionally. Young players like Caitlin Clark, who were just beginning their careers, witnessed a veteran completely abandon her responsibilities without explanation or apology. This sets a terrible precedent and undermines the culture of accountability that successful teams require. Bonner's approach showed that individual desires trump team commitments, a message that directly contradicts the collaborative mindset necessary for championship-level basketball. Her behavior essentially taught younger players that quitting without explanation is acceptable when things become challenging. Comparisons to other controversial player departures highlight just how poorly Bonner handled her situation. Even players known for difficult exits, such as Jimmy Butler, maintained some level of communication with teammates and provided explanations for their decision. Butler's various team changes, while disruptive, typically involved clear communication about his dissatisfaction and attempts to work through issues before reaching breaking points. Bonner's approach lacked even these basic elements of professional courtesy. She simply vanished, leaving teammates to speculate about her motivations and feelings. This complete communication breakdown represents perhaps the most childish and unprofessional player departure in recent memory. The comparison makes Bonner's behavior appear even more unreasonable and selfish, as other difficult personalities still manage to show more consideration for their teammates. The timing of Bonner's departure created additional complications for the Indiana Fever organization and coaching staff. Stephanie White was forced to cover for Bonner's absence while privately knowing about her intentions, creating an impossible situation for the head coach. White had to balance honesty with her team against protecting organizational interests and player privacy. This put unnecessary stress on the coaching staff during a crucial period of team development. The organization was left scrambling to adjust rotations, offensive schemes, and team chemistry in the middle of the season. Such mid-season disruptions typically require weeks or months to overcome, potentially costing wins and playoff positioning. Bonner's selfish decision prioritized her personal comfort over the success and well-being of dozens of other people in the organization. Her actions showed complete disregard for the coaches who invested time developing her role and the front office personnel who structured the team around her presence. Fan reactions to Bonner's return game reflected the broader disappointment with her unprofessional departure. The boos she received weren't merely typical opposing player treatment but specific responses to her behavior during the exit process. Many observers noted that the crowd's negative reaction wasn't loud enough considering the circumstance. Bonner herself acknowledged before the game that fans would express their displeasure, indicating she understood and expected the hostile reception. This suggests she was fully aware that her departure methods were inappropriate and would generate lasting resentment. Rather than attempting to make amends or explain her perspective, she accepted the negative consequences as inevitable results of her choices. The fan reaction served as a public referendum on her behavior, with the overwhelming consensus being that she handled the situation poorly. The intensity of the negative response demonstrates how her actions were perceived not just as a basketball decision, but as a personal betrayal of the community that supported her. The long-term implications of Bonner's departure reveal how her unprofessional exit actually benefited the Indiana Fever organization. The team's improved performance after her departure suggests that her presence had become more disruptive than helpful. Her negative attitude and apparent dissatisfaction were likely affecting team chemistry and morale in ways that weren't immediately apparent. Once she left, the remaining players could focus entirely on basketball without dealing with internal tension and drama. The team's subsequent success proves they were capable of competing at high levels without her contributions. This outcome makes her departure appear even more selfish, as she disrupted team chemistry throughout her tenure while contributing to an atmosphere that hindered everyone's performance. Her exit allowed the organization to move forward with players genuinely committed to the team's success. The contrast between the team's struggles with her and their improvement after her departure tells the complete story of how toxic her presence had become. The Indiana Fever secured their 5th consecutive victory against the Seattle Storm with a 78-74 win, but the triumph revealed significant issues with team coordination and shooting decisions. While the victory extended their impressive winning streak and improved their playoff positioning, the manner in which they nearly surrendered the game exposed fundamental problems in basketball decision-making. Sophie Cunningham delivered an exceptional performance from beyond the arc, converting 4 of her 5 3-point attempts for an outstanding 80% accuracy rate. However, her teammates struggled immensely from long range, combining for a dismal 0-17 record from 3-point territory. This stark contrast in shooting efficiency created a situation where basic basketball logic should have dictated offensive strategy, yet the team failed to recognize and capitalize on Cunningham's hot streak throughout crucial moments of the contest. The most concerning aspect of the victory was how teammates stopped distributing the ball to Cunningham during the third quarter, despite her remarkable shooting display. When a player demonstrates such elite accuracy from 3-point range, fundamental basketball principles demand that offensive sets revolve around getting that individual quality looks. Instead, the team continued running plays for players who were clearly struggling with their shots. Kelsey Mitchell endured a particularly difficult evening, managing only 3 successful field goals out of 16 attempts while missing all 8 of her 3-point tries. Despite her obvious struggles, Mitchell continued receiving significant playing time and shot opportunities. This decision-making created a frustrating scenario where the team's most effective scorer from deep was being overlooked in favor of players who were experiencing severe shooting difficulties. The coaching staff's failure to recognize this imbalance and adjust accordingly nearly cost the team a victory they should have secured more comfortably. The psychological impact on Cunningham cannot be understated, as competitive athletes expect recognition and utilization when performing at elite levels. Being relegated to a spectator role while teammates continue taking contested shots must have been incredibly frustrating for a veteran player who understands winning basketball. The situation became more problematic as the game progressed and Seattle mounted a late comeback attempt. Rather than relying on their most reliable shooter to help close out the victory, the team continued with the same ineffective approach that had kept the Storm within striking distance. This lack of adjustment demonstrated a concerning absence of basketball intelligence and situational awareness. Professional teams at this level should automatically recognize hot shooters and modify their offensive schemes accordingly. The failure to do so suggests deeper issues with communication, leadership, and basketball fundamentals that could prove costly against stronger opponents in future contests. Mitchell's shot selection throughout the game raised serious questions about basketball awareness and team-first mentality. When shooting percentages drop to such low levels, veteran players typically recognize the need to shift their focus toward facilitating for teammates who are performing better. Instead, Mitchell continued attempting difficult shots while Cunningham remained available for higher percentage opportunities. This approach contradicted basic basketball strategy and demonstrated poor decision-making under pressure. The veteran leadership aspect makes the situation more troublesome, as experienced players should be setting examples for younger teammates about making winning plays rather than pursuing individual statistics. Championship-caliber teams feature players who can recognize their limitations during specific games and adjust their roles accordingly. The inability to make these mental adjustments during crucial moments of the contest revealed significant gaps in basketball maturity and team chemistry that must be addressed moving forward. Coach Stephanie White's game management decisions deserve scrutiny for allowing these problems to persist without making obvious corrections. Keeping Mitchell on the court for 29 minutes despite her shooting struggles while failing to maximize Cunningham's hot streak represented questionable coaching choices. Professional coaches are expected to recognize performance patterns and adjust rotations and offensive systems accordingly. The statistical evidence was overwhelming enough that coaching adjustments should have been automatic rather than optional. Good coaches understand when to ride hot shooters and when to limit players who are experiencing difficult nights. The failure to make these adjustments nearly resulted in a devastating loss that would have damaged team morale and playoff positioning. This situation highlighted the need for better in-game awareness and decision-making from the coaching staff. Championship teams feature coaches who can read game situations and make appropriate modifications to maximize their team's chances of success. The timing of poor shot selection made the problems even more glaring, particularly during critical fourth-quarter possessions when clock management becomes essential. Rather than working for high-percentage shots and controlling the tempo, players were attempting quick three-pointers early in possessions while leading scorers remained underutilized. This approach allowed Seattle to mount an 11-0 run that nearly erased the Fever's lead and forced a nail-biting finish to what should have been a comfortable victory.